Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's ICCC webinar. Thank you for joining us. We are happy to have Jose Perez, founder and CEO of Rhodes Consulting Group, with us for the Turning My Business Disadvantages to Advantages webinar. Dr. Jose Perez is an experienced entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience in business creation and strategy. Currently the co-owner of DPV Transportation, a worldwide chauffeured service company with more than 250 employees and 4 offices in the United States. Dr. Perez has been awarded over $100 million in corporate bids, opened support offices in Medellin, Colombia, gotten the award for Best Places to Work with the Boston Globe for 2 years in a row, and has been awarded twice for grants in workforce development to support his staff and create more roles. He is also the founder of Rhodes Consulting Group, a business strategy consulting minority-owned firm that specializes in disadvantaged communities and businesses. Through his firm, he has been able to help hundreds of businesses overcome the gap of inequality. And today, Jose teaches at Bay State College, serves as a board member of Dorchester Bay Economic Development, and oversees a few personal businesses and investments. Dr. Perez is a devoted member of the community who truly enjoys helping business owners achieve their path to success. Now, before I turn it over to our presenter, a friendly reminder that if our audience has any questions, please use the question box to submit them throughout the session, and we will get to as many as possible during the breaks and the Q&A. And with that, I will pass it over to Jose.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the kind introduction. I'm delighted to be here today and to be able to share a little bit of my experiences we have done in the past. I am looking forward to making sure that you get as much information as possible in this session. Just a few housekeeping issues. If you have any questions or immediate assistance on anything or any topic that you do not understand, please feel free to utilize the chat and go from there. Once again, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Jose Perez. I've been in somewhat of a business role for quite some time, but what gets me here to be in front of you today, it's the role of different businesses and different avenues that I have managed to get to in order to grow my businesses from one to the other. I started in 2007 working for the Boston Centers for Youth and Families. From there, I opened my first business in 2012, which was called Sabaneta Lounge and Bar. And then I was an examiner for the state where I did identity theft and fraud for companies of close to $5 million and under. And in 2015, I joined what it was our company in the previous stages. However, due to my early age and as well as being around other different exposures, I had left and have come back and joined 2015 again as resources manager for DPV Transportation. And then later on, I grew that company a little bit to what it is today and in the different avenues. Today, I am currently the founder of Rhodes Consulting Group. We are a small minority-owned firm, strategic position to help businesses of disadvantages, and we really would like to keep that mission going, considering that it's one of the strongest and one of the most important things we have done since its inception. We've been working with disadvantaged businesses, and we love what we do. And I hope that through this seminar, you'll be able to see the strategy behind what we do and the things that we've been doing in the past 5 years or so. So what are we here to do today? I'm here to talk a little bit about how do you turn your disadvantage to your advantage. And in essence, what we're trying to look at is our particular aces under our arms. This is the card that we utilize to our advantages from one needle to the other, right? Basically, because we are either Hispanics, we are either brown, black, we are LGBTQ, or anything besides that is male and white, right? We're able to get a lot of different perks, right? That a lot of people cannot actually participate in. And I am going to tell you today how I utilize these in my 10 plus years of experience. I was able to utilize this in different businesses and different avenues that we use today. But not only that, grow my businesses into multi-million-dollar revenue generating businesses with a lot of employees. And what we have known and have identified is that it has served us well, being a minority-owned business, right? So as the presenter mentioned, we have DPV, which currently is composed of a little bit over 260 employees. We also have Mass Safety Contractor. We have Boston CDL Driving School. We have roads. All in general, we're talking about close to 350 employees and revenues totaling north of 25 to $30 million in conjunction. Right? And in essence, what we try to do is try to circulate and take a look at what was working and what was not working, and identify that there was particular things that we needed to enter and penetrate. All right. So let's get busy, right? The first one that we want to start actually looking at is the rate privileges on bids, right? This is something that a lot of people do not know about it, right? When it comes to actually state contracts and governmental contracts, not all of them, but some of them, do have a little bit of bandwidth when it comes to actually rates on the bids that you submit. If you are a disadvantaged firm, right, and what I mean by this is that you are certified, right, through a firm or a particular um, classification or a particular agency that gives you the certification, you're able to actually pursue these particular benefits, right? And we'll talk about certifications later on. But one of the things that we need to keep in mind is the particular different benefits that there are there for ourselves. So one of them is the rate privileges on bids, where if we are a certified disadvantaged firm, we get to submit a price that is 10% either north or south, right, to our competitors, right? What this does, this gives you a fair plan opportunity to participate on bids, right, that before you were not being able to participate because due to pricing. Therefore, these particular government contracts know it and understand that they will give you the benefit in the doubt that you have a great product, that you could service the contract, and perhaps your rate might be a little bit off. Therefore, you get a little bit of a break when it comes to pricing. Usually, all bids get scored out on a pricing, on a presentation, and the scope of services point system. This will allow you to not be penalized on your prices as much as everything else in your proposal. Now, I know what you're saying is only 10%, but 10% on an hourly basis is a lot, as well as 10% on a particular budget happens to be a lot. And it also could mean that this could be the one factor that will dominate or that would actually represent you actually being awarded the contract, right? Then we have priority in contracting, right? As you may be aware or not, now we have set aside contracting guidelines that are required by state, municipalities, governmental agencies, corporate sponsorships, and whatnot, that set aside a particular amount of dollars that need to be spent with disadvantaged owned companies, right? Now, the city of Boston just recently pledged to 25% of total expenditure. If you have any idea what that means, they have a total expenditure of $2 billion a year. Therefore, $500 million will go in to this bucket of disadvantaged owned vendors, which will allow for a lot of our businesses to be presented into these categories and says, hey, I'm here, I'm present, I would like to take somewhat advantage of what we're doing and be able to actually contract with these particular firms. Excuse me. The same thing happens with corporations. With corporations, you face these particular challenges as well, but now they form these teams of diversity and inclusions, right, which will allow people to participate and set aside dollars that are beneficial for the community or businesses that are disadvantaged, right? And they have this kind of the same standards. They need to comply with 10%, 15%, or 20% of the total expenditure. And at that particular point, we actually start making relationships with diversity inclusion officers who will be the ones kind of liaison between the business as well as the corporate member that would allow us to actually penetrate these markets and kind of generate these particular contracts that will allow us to participate in a much broader spectrum than we were doing before. Then we have great discounts and loans, right? The SBA is notorious and known for this. If your business is a disadvantaged business, there's a lot of perks when it comes to actually lending. Some of them include a smaller percentage on actually down payment. Another one includes a little bit of break on the actual APR, which is annual percentage of interest, right? Or so. We also do a lot of different directions when it comes to terms. We might be able to stand it out a little bit better on terms. We also might be able to waive a lot of the fees that are associated with loans, like origination fees, doc preparation, such and such, that would allow us to have significant and massive savings for a firm. So if you've been around the actual contracting stages or the actual particular loan stages, you will see that these fees are non-stop. And if you could save yourself $7, $8, or $10,000 just because you are a certified classified minority or disadvantaged firm, this will allow you to save massive amount of money on these particular transactions. Then you have exposure to set aside opportunities. We know and understand that there's opportunities specifically from the federal government that are certified and set aside for certain groups of either disadvantages or so that would allow us to actually penetrate these markets and gain those contracts. Some could be veteran owned, some could be minority owned, some could be women owned, right? And this will allow us to, in essence, build that relationship and actually secure the contract just based on our classification. This happens a lot on the actual federal government, and it's something that is very common to see through the actual SBA contracted platforms and such. Then we have the actual preferences on age, right? These are the ones that most of us experience but kind of did not know about it. So if you happen to be in the Mass area, when we went and got loans or grants from MGCC, which is Mass Capital Growth Corporation, when we got grants from the SBA, when we got grants from our local government, a lot of these governments were actually looking at it and saying, is this person a disadvantaged firm that currently needs our help? And what do we need to do to, in essence, make sure that we assist them quickly than we need to assist other businesses because they are a disadvantaged firm? So when we see those particular items and when we see those particular cases, right, we were actually brought on the top of the list when it came to funding, right? Mass Capital Growth did about $668 million. And one of the first things that they came into actually attention was we need to make sure that we fund businesses of disadvantages first. So that was one of the biggest perks that we see. The same thing happens with the actual federal government. If you paid attention to the PPP and the different things, you actually saw that if you and your business were in a gateway community, you were able to access funds quicker than your counterpart. And this was really important for all of us. And then finally, we have different things like the Work Trust Development Fund, which in essence, it's a right and a benefit that you actually paid into when you're doing your payroll, right? But this allows you to actually go seek funding that would give you somewhat of a training exposure for your staff members or soon to be staff members that would allow you to go and actually build a program to keep building that particular strategic team. We did this at DPV. We actually went and secured a grant through them, which allowed us to train close to about 80 or 90 people to that extent and being able to place them within our team because we understood and knew that there was no way we were going to be able to recruit close to 100 CDL driving members to our company. Therefore, we actually approached the Work Trust Development Fund. We were awarded nearly about $500,000 to train our workforce. And now we're in our second grant for about $300,000 and looking to actually apply for the third one in the very near future. these are dollars that are set aside for you to train your workforce to make sure that your workforce is going in the right direction, but at the same time to provide tools and support that is not there before. I know I've talked a lot. I'll stop and I'll just do a little quick browse to the chat to make sure there's no questions. But if not, I'll continue. Let's see.
Yeah, Jose, so we do have a couple of questions that have come in. One person just wanted a little more clarity on just exactly the name of your company, and I think you have, multiple companies, so maybe just clarifying and repeating what those are.
Sure. Well, thank you. So once again, I co-own a few different companies, but I own some as well. But DPV, which is a transportation company, but most of you don't know it by its name, but you know it by what it does. It's the black buses that have written Encore all over it, right? These are the buses that transport every single passenger from either a train station or from a neighborhood around you all the way to the casino and back. In this particular company, we were awarded one of the largest transportation contract there has been in the state of Massachusetts. To be quite exact, it was a little bit over $56 million for 5 years and $72 million for 7 years. This allows us to grow massively into what we are today, but also to what we've been doing and been able to grow the company and explore different opportunities. Not only that, we also expanded to New York, basically on this program that I just kind of alluded to, and we were able to secure a contract with Morgan Stanley, basically because they needed to have a minority-owned partner that would kind of be able to do the needs that they had in New York, and they had goals that they had to meet. Therefore, we entered the market in New York, and now we operate in Morgan Stanley as well as PepsiCo. So that's kind of the story with DPV. You also will see in DPV that a lot of the mobile vaccination clinics that are going on today in the state, they happen to be our buses, right? So we have about 30 buses in New York doing all these particular mobile vaccination units, but we also have close to 10 or so buses in the state of Massachusetts, all currently generated through Mass General Brigham's and a few other partners like Tufts or so, where you were able to get somewhat vaccinated in the particular groups. Then there's Rhodes Consulting Group. Rhodes arise out of a necessity of seeing the different lack of resources that our communities were facing. One of them was information, like the one we're doing today. The other one was actually support and being able to actually provide support to a fellow entrepreneur and business owner. And then finally, seeing that we all had great projects and great opportunities, but we lacked direction. So strategy and direction is one of the main items that we did. Therefore, Rhodes was founded in a way where it was able to actually go and provide all of this assistance to different owners. We started with the city of Boston about 5 years ago, and then in essence went into different transitions and different partnerships, like the city of Chelsea, which was recently awarded, and then city of Rhode Island or state of Rhode Island, which is Rhode Island of Commerce, Enterprise, which is a streetwise MBA program that we've been developed, and we worked with the team there in Boston, and a few other partnerships that we have developed over the years that allow us to actually be in front of you today, and in essence provide information, resources, guidance, and particular advices that will allow you to grow your business. We started just like anybody in the room. DPV started literally in our parents' basement, and I always say we got promoted to the kitchen and then to the living room and such. And it took quite some time before we were able to get out and start exploring more direction. But as I said today we are a double-digit multi-million-dollar firm. We are over 260 staff members in across 4 states as well as another country. And we've been happy to operate and be able to grow our business as much as we can in the last about 6 years or so. Does that clarify most of the questions, or do we still have more questions in the room?
Yeah, we do have a couple more questions. I'm not sure if you want to take them now or if you want to just save them for the end.
Well, I want to see if the questions are correlated to this, and then I'll be able to go on forward, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess there are two kind of quick ones that may be kind of applicable to right now. Just somebody wanted clarity on exactly what organization the Work Trust Development Program was available through.
What organization? What?
The Work Trust Development Program.
Yeah, that one will be directly to the Commonwealth Corporation. So we do directly stuff with them. But the first one was the Commonwealth Corporation. The other one was the Rapid Reemployment Fund. But in essence, they're all correlated to the Work Trust Development Fund that is set aside as part of the compensation and the actual contributions that you make within your payroll. So when you pay your FUTA, your FICA, your unemployment, those are particular things that are being funded through the project. So if you're paying your payroll, you should be able to access these funds.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And then just the last really quick one is, does the disadvantage certification lower the interest on the SBA loan below 3.75%?
Not right now. As we understand today, that's a pretty standard APR that we're facing today. And then what I would add to that is it's a pretty great one, by the way. I haven't seen a lender today that is willing to give you 3.75 on a commercial loan at 30-year note, right? We do understand that there's some that are lower, but that's basically on secure collateral, which would be either your home or different things like that. The SBA has done a tremendous job on providing funds and resources to the backbone of the American economy, which is the small businesses of today. And I do hope that people are taking full advantage of these. What we do know is that mainly these programs, when we see them, for example, we need to go secure a line of credit if we go need to actually either leverage our receivables or so to the bank, we're able to make a lot of concessions with the bank to be able to help us and kind of minimize these particular fees that are associated with the loan. So those are the ones that you should be looking out for and leveraging your disadvantage to your advantage and be able to say, hey, I don't think I could afford that. Can you help me out with this? And a lot of it is saying why. And then you say, well, I'm a disadvantage on business. And I think that you should consider that because there's a lot of goals and objectives from different lenders and banks that need to be able to service our communities, right? And be able to do business with our communities. Therefore, for them losing about $1,500 or $5,000 is not a big deal, considering that the relationship is there. Is there another question in the room, Laura?
No, I think that's it. Everyone, they just have a couple comments who are just saying congratulations to you on all your success. So,
I don't
yeah.
get to, I got to be able to see these questions. But thank you. I'll keep going. Let me see. All right. All right. So we talked a little bit about the rate privileges, right? I just want to get more into that. So the rate privileges go once again, one is saying, hey, I have a little bit of a different price than you do. Therefore, I get to compete in somewhat an advantage that you don't have, right? And a lot of this was created once again because they understand that they needed to come up with uh, somewhat fair rules that allow people to compete with contracting, right? And one of them is saying, as being part of a small business owner, you might be able to pay for things that, in essence, generate a little bit more of a cost margin. Therefore, at that particular point, we are saying, hey, we get it, but still we want you to compete. Therefore, that difference allow people to say, no biggie, submit your proposal, and if it's not too off, then we should be able to move past that. Then we go into payment terms, right? A lot of these things happens to me. I am a crybaby when it comes to this particular module, right? We're in transportation. We do not want to be floated for 45 days, 60 days, never alone 90 days. So this is when I get to get my teary eyes in front of my particular customers. And I said, hey, I really need you to help me out. We're a small firm. We really cannot afford to be floated for many, many months. Therefore, I really need you to make sure that you make some concessions around this. And most likely than not, they will say, no problem. I'm happy to see if I could get you to 30 days and net 45s. And for me, that's super important. As we all know, cash is king. And if we don't have it, we have a much tougher time being able to actually grow our company or participate in different things that would allow us to keep enhancing our systems and our different procedures. Then finally are the deposits, right? So within our firm, sometimes we require deposits to actually mobilize teams or in essence purchase equipment or products that would allow us to service the client. And a lot of different companies are very resistant to this. This is like any particular firm will tell you the same, right? Stretch your payables, shorten your payables, right? And then when we see kind of these deposits, we want to be able to say, hey, I am going to go and make this investment to service your account. I am willing to do that, but quite frankly, it is a stretch for me. I am asking that you commit a little bit of money up front to make sure that we're able to actually service your account in the way it needs to be serviced. Therefore, we will be kindly asking for a deposit, right? And a lot of the stuff, it's the way you ask and how you ask it, but also for the reasons you ask it, right? More than any particular time frame in the world right now, this is very relevant, right? Once again, I keep repeating, the backbone of the American economy is the small businesses. Therefore, if we're able to make that argument that we need these particular deposits, right, because we are a disadvantaged business, and that will allow us to grow to maintain jobs and move forward, a lot of people will be very resilient with that and allow us to actually get the money or get the deposit or the payment terms that we need in order to compete in a fair market. All right, then we have the priority contracting, right? Once I kind of mentioned this on the set aside contracts, on the expenditure requirements by state and federal, as well as the diversification of expenditure. So we see a lot of veteran contracts that are being put out there today. We see a lot of women-owned contracts that are being placed out there today, right? And then we see a lot of set aside contracts with different specifications that are out there today. If you're thinking about opening a business, if you're thinking about even going into business, right, I would caution and I would seriously make a strong recommendations that you look at yourself and see which way are you looking to frame your firm in this particular direction, right? If you happen to be married, perhaps your spouse should be the person that would take lead in the firm just because she will probably have a lot more advantages than you will, right? Another thing is looking at what particular market are you looking to actually enter, and they're identifying and saying, geez, I think I will be doing, fantastic in the federal government because they're looking for better owned businesses. The same thing happens with MBEs, which happens to be minority business enterprises, as well as I mentioned, LGBTQ. We just saw that former mayor just signed a particular um, a particular law or Biden document that will allow LGBTQ to be considered a disadvantage on firms, but actually give them set aside contract benefits as they should have. And this is actually super amazing for what we're seeing to actually start development across businesses and corporations, right? The set aside contracts are being done in development through every single organization that we could think of. You just have to see in what particular side you belong to. And what I mean by that is if I'm in construction, who am I looking to contract and what sort of programs do they actually have? If I am into marketing, the same particular idea, right? And then from there, stay laser focused. That way you'll be able to actually chase these opportunities. All right. We kind of talked a little bit more on the actual rate discounts and loans, right? I would target a little bit more on the initial deposit and the penalty fees and repayments waived because these are important. These are the things that we barely get to ask or say to people, hey, would you be so kind to actually waive these off? Would you be so kind to, in essence, see if there is an interest reduction for small minority owned businesses? This is kind of like when you go to the store and you happen to be in law enforcement or a public servant and then you go in and you ask, do you have any discounts for public service, right? And these are the things that we need to be able to ask, right? Because now your business enters into these categories that allows you to secure different discounts that most people cannot have. The federal program today, the SBA, has the 504 lending program through the SBA, which allows you to actually buy property or the tangible building where you operate or where you plan to operate, right, at a 10% initial deposit, which is amazing. Before, or just traditional lending is 25% all the way to 30%, in some cases even greater than that. This allows you to enter a particular building at 10%, which is phenomenal and a great way to build wealth. These are the little different categories that we've seen. I addressed them all, which is the veteran businesses, Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, disadvantage-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. As I mentioned, I forgot to place in here, but the LGBTQ is also really should be included in here. And more businesses, as well as if you happen to be Native American, that is humongous and should be as well something that we should be securing as a general certification of disadvantaged business or so, right? I mentioned briefly on the actual PPP, on the grants, on the loans, and the support from the SBA, and the priority that you guys had. I'm not sure if you remember, but when we were doing PPP, there was a particular time that they actually locked down only minority or disadvantaged applicants to apply for PPP funding number 2. Therefore, if you were not a disadvantaged business, you didn't have the actual availability or the actual opportunity to apply because they had first grabs on this fund. So this is very serious, and this is something that we've been moving actively towards it. And I think that is going to be something that is going to be more relevant time over time. The work trust development, as I mentioned to you, right? It specializes on the training, specializes on the funding for the training, and in essence for being able to help your own company and being able to place strategic advisors and strategic members within your team that would allow you to grow and build operations that we did not have in the past. One of the biggest problematic we had is that we were awarded this huge contract and we understood that there was no way we were going to go secure 100 people or so in the streets. Therefore, we approached the government and say, we have jobs, we're willing to hire people, but we can't train them on our dime because it's too expensive. Therefore, would you partner with us and help us actually get through this? The state paired us with Commonwealth Corporation, right, in the Work Trust Development Fund, and they were able to do something in our favor where we were able to apply for funds that allow us to actually train nearly 100 drivers that were positioned into great particular role opportunities of jobs that were above minimum pay, above minimum conditions, as well being able to secure roles fairly quickly. In other words, the government is saying if they're leaving unemployment and they're going to go work for another company, we'll be glad to train them and give you the resources to actually let you lead that particular side of your business. So this is super important, and I can't state enough how many people actually do not utilize these resources that are currently out there and a benefit to all. In fact, we have trainings today that are, or ESL trainings and whatnot, or different Six Sigma or team building that are prayed through the state, because the state is basically saying you need to retrain your workforce. You need to make sure that you sustain them. You need to make sure that they have training adequate to being promoted or being somewhat growth within the firm. And we're happy to help you with that. Just do your part and we do ours. And then you said, well, Jose, how do I actually get certified, right? Or how do I actually get involved with all these particular certifications and agencies, right? There's a little bit of different, right? One is, sorry, I was going all over, right? Certification process, right? And how do you actually start the process, and why should a business become certified? The first thing is the access to actually corporate members and different security benefits that we just elaborated and mentioned. The other one is the actual conferences that these particular corporations do. They able to actually open the doors to a lot of procurement officers, right? The priority, and what I mean by priority is being able to be in the right place, in the right mind, right, in the right room, which will allow you to build relationships that can lead to major contracting. And these will not happen overnight. These will not happen in a way where you're going to go from zero to 10 or 20 million very quickly. But I can guarantee you that when you close for a good chunk of money. You build a great relationship, and it gives you capacity to develop more particular work or relationships that actually put you in the right position to go and support more contracts, right? And then there's capacity development, as I just mentioned. You need to be able to show and demonstrate through the reference standpoint that you're able to sustain a corporate contract. Therefore, if you're able to do business with Blue Cross, with Aetna, with Fidelity, with State Street, this gives your reputation of your firm that you're able to sustain any contract, right? And then finally, most important, is the community of support. And that's being able to be placed around individuals that are experiencing the same particular issues that you are, that you were being exposed to buyers and different particular advisors that somewhat been through the same stages but are looking to help you and actually develop you and counsel you further. And finally, being able to provide directions for actually building your business through a contracting stage. Our firm currently does primarily work with top 50 firms in the United States. I mean, you name it, the Hartford Insurance, Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, MCCA, which is the Boston Convention Center, Fidelity Investments, we do Citibank, we do Santander Bank, we do State Street, we do Mass Mutual, we do Oracle. All these big names, Boston Scientific, Takeda, Lonza, that you could think of, make part of a portfolio of clients that we have, which allows us to actually approach different clients and says, yep, we've been there, we've done it, no problem. So you may ask, what are the certifying agencies? And trust me, I do not make a living out of making any recommendations of any agencies that you choose to. I just really, I'm an eye opener for these particular opportunities that you should be participating into. Therefore, I will leave it up to you. I will just speak, briefly about each particular agency. One of them is the We Bank, which is Women Business Enterprise National Council. As it's mentioned, you'll be able to be certified as a women business, and then you should be able to get access to the same amount of things that we just discussed. They meet, they host meetings, they host conference, they do a lot of cool stuff that actually is helpful for the community, especially the community of entrepreneurs. The other one is the GNSMDC, which is the Greater New England Minority Supply Diversity Council. Geez, that's long, but they're doing a cool stuff. They just launched an entrepreneur center with about $5 million or so. Don't quote me on that, but they'll be able to supply a lot of information and a lot of technical assistance to business owners. At the same time, they're able to provide a lot of resources for you to actually meet corporate members and kind of generate strategic relationships with corporations that will allow you to put your business out there. The NMSDC, it's kind of the national chapter for the Greater New England. This is just national, and this allows you to actually participate with national companies that maybe are not in the New England region, and they're all super great chapters and agencies to actually belong to and get through. Right? What are the difference? All right, certifications a business can qualify for. As I mentioned, you'll see this here. You have the MBE, which is Minority Business Enterprise. You have WBE, Women Business Enterprise. VBE, which is the Veteran Business Enterprise. And then you have PBE, Portuguese Business Enterprise. Trust me, there's more, right? These are just the most famous one, and you'll be able to go through, a lot of the different applications that you could actually get your business from, right? So what is expected from the owner, right? And I don't want to go into all these details because I'll bore you to death. But I'll mention the ones that are super important. Number one, you need to be a U.S. citizen for most of them. Some of them just require to have legal residency, but the most part, you need to be a U.S. citizens. You need to be a for-profit business. So you need to be in business to make money, right? They will require you do an on-site visit, either an on-site visit as well as an online visit. And then you will need a lot of documentation in regards of what your business has been doing or will be doing. For example, taxation, W-2s, professional license, owner's resume, an employee list, such and such. This will allow you to get through the process. But in reality, if you go into their website, you should be able to follow these these requirements, and kind of approach it through that. We also help companies actually get through these particular processes, and we can't recommend them enough just because what we understand and know about these certifications and what they have done to our business, that we truly believe on what they offer. Finally, I'm not sure if you have heard of the capability statement, and the main reason that I included in here is because a lot of people think that being a disadvantaged certified business, it's kind of like the pinnacle of your business, and then once you have it, you're good to go. But we need to kind of keep that in mind. That is only a step for you to participate in a somewhat level ground arena, and you want to be able to build as much as advantages that you can. So a lot of companies will ask you for your capability statement, and your capability statement, make sure that you include that you're a minority-owned business, as well as a different thing. So what is a capability statement? This is mainly saying this is my company's resume, right? We're able to tell you who we are, what we do, and what we have done in the past. At the same time, it kind of tells you the production and deliverables, so kind of what we do, right? And then finally, it's kind of also putting together your operational details in regards to who you have done work with, what are the things that you trying to do, how to contact you, and such and such. So we kind of include one of a little bit of preview of what we have done for our capability statement, which is important for us, and we utilize it heavily to somewhat leverage what we need to do. All right, what are the steps after certification? How do I promote my certification? So in essence, they're saying, don't just get certified and be quiet about it. You want to make sure that you share about it and and tell people what you've been doing and what are your plans and somewhat advantages are, as well as what your intentions are. So make sure that you boost it up in your social media, that you put it on your LinkedIn, on your business profile, even on your website, right? I submit a copy of my certification on every single bid that I'm going to participate on because it helps us tremendously. And I also identify my business with the diversity office of every time that I apply for a contract to let them know that, hey, I am going to be applying for this bid. I'm coming, keep an eye out for my certification. How do I make the best use of my certification? And those are just making sure that you have different supplier diversity portals, or that you are in different portals that will allow you to be actually known and be out there in the public and broadcast as a minority-owned business. One is the diversity supplier portals. The other one is directly through Combis, which you'll be able to kind of check the box and be able to place there that you're a strategic disadvantaged member, as well as the small business purchasing program, all right, which is important because to actually somewhat broadcast that you are in this particular category and you would like to be considered as a business of disadvantage for this particular bid or particular business. So before we get into the next steps, I guess the next steps just kind of explore, and we won't get too much into that. But what I do tend to do in the later steps in the later seminars kind of explains, how do we do business with bidding processes, RFPs, gaming commissions, right? Which is a little bit different than what we do through traditional RFPs, RFQs, and R5s, which is requests for proposals, requests for questionings, and requests for information. But at the same time, it's utilizing the information that we got today to, in essence, be able to actually approach these particular members and these particular folks and be able to offer our businesses to them in a way where we be able to, in essence, participate in a contract or a bid that will allow us to be successful what we do. With that being said, I'll close it there. I'll wait for the questions, and thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to actually present this information today. I hope that you got a lot of good nuggets out of it, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jose. And based off of the early comments that I've already seen, everybody really found this, incredibly valuable and insightful. And we're also just very impressed at your own personal success and your journey as well. Um,
Thank you.
but yeah, no, I can definitely start off with a couple of questions. A lot of people have a lot of questions about this, the Work Trust Development Fund.
Mhm.
Specifically, just exactly where to find, maybe some more information about it, as well as if it's only Massachusetts specific or if there are similar or if there are similar resources in other states.
So I know there's similar resources in different states as long as you have an ongoing payroll. And what I mean by this is that you have your people on a W-2 status and not a 1099 status, and you're contributing to FICA, FUTA, unemployment, and workers' compensation, right? You should be able to get assistance around these particular programs. So from there, what I will advise is that you contact your work trust development partner within your area, right? And we all have one. And then from there, it says, hey, what sort of programs are out there? I know that Massachusetts has up to $250,000 in training for your particular employees. So if they already are employed by you, it's about $250,000. If you're looking to hire them existing or exterior, it's less than that, but I know it's significant as well. And then from there, I will also sign up to the newsletter for, like I said, Commonwealth Corporation or Work Trust Development Fund, and kind of find out what sort of different programs are coming out consistently. As I mentioned to you, the rapid reemployment just recently came out not too long ago, and we, did really well on that one. We have another program that just came out, which is the rapid reentry program, and this is the one where recently released inmates are looking to re-enter the workforce, and then from there we'll be able to kind of make these partnerships with them as well as the Department of Justice to kind of retrain them and put them back into the workforce. But the numerous of different programs and different funds that are out there, it's a volume, right? It's a volume game. You just need to make sure that you are keeping your eyes and ears open. But when you see a jump on that opportunity, because there's many to come. I know New York has the same program as well. Um, so just kind of look at that. But I'll be happy to share my information. And then from there, if you have questions, just feel free to reach out and we kind of help you out.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we do have a couple more questions and a couple more who are still coming in right now. But I
Yep.
guess this was a little earlier on in the presentation. Somebody was wondering if you had a list of certified lending referrals.
So I guess I would need to get more specific on that question, because lending referrals is also based on the lending amount and dollar amount. As I mentioned, I sit in the Dorchester Bay, and I'll mention a few in which you should look at. But Dorchester Bay Economic Development is one. The other one is Boston Impact. One is Massachusetts Capital, and then I am missing one. Eastern Bank, it's a very friendly bank. And once again, I don't want to publicize or shout out to any of those banks. It's just, these are the relationships we have built with. And the reason I mention Eastern Bank is because they're one of the largest SBA lenders today in the area of Massachusetts. And that's extremely important because they're looking to actually grow a portfolio of disadvantaged businesses. And this is impressive. Uh, a lot of these agencies that I just mentioned as well, they're quasi agencies, which, in essence, they care about the dollar, but they really care about the company and the company's values and making sure that you are doing the right things to maintain your employees, grow your business, and serve a better purpose than just the economic drive personally to the owner back. So there's a lot of different programs out there, but if you're looking for massive capital and stuff like that, uh, that's an offline conversation, because at the same time we need to understand what you're going to be doing, what sort of financials that you need, and what sort of different things that you need to actually do in order to get to approach a bank seeking major funding. For example, we financed close to $10 million in new debt when we were going through Encore, and we were able to secure it. But we were an established firm, and we had established contracts that allow us to participate on this. Um, Typically, a bank will let you borrow money on a commercial side as long as you have a debt to income ratio of about a 1.5. Meaning, if I let you borrow $1, you need to be able to pay me $1.50, which is a little bit greater than on a residential loan, which is 1.2 or 1.25 for every dollar, $1.25. So in essence, we would need to actually investigate further. What do you need the funds for? How are they going to be utilized? What sort of credibility you have, and what sort of bank it's the right partner for you to actually go into cahoons with, and then from there figure out what will be the next steps going further.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for answering that. And I think, somewhat related, and you might have the same answer to this question. Somebody is wondering, with SBA funding, what kind of investment are they allowed to spend that money on? In terms of, are they allowed to spend it on the business or to grow the business? And like specifically, would that include new development or pivoting? So I think, yeah, just wondering exactly if there are any restrictions on, how you use that SBA funding.
So there's a few different items in there, right? And I guess the first clarification that we need to make is it funded? Meaning, is there a loan or is it a grant? Because there's a difference between both of them and what you could do with each and one of them, right? If it's a grant, it has to be business related to your current business, right? And you can enhance the operation. You could use it for payroll. You could use it to cover any loss. You could use it to, marketing procedures and whatnot. If there is a lending position, right, you have a lot more bandwidth and a lot of more flexibility with what you could do because it essentially is a loan. You are on the hook for it. Therefore, what you do with your money, basically, it's up to you with some guidelines and some restrictions, but we do expect that money to be given back to us. So I cannot give you a definite answer on that one, but what I could tell you is that you need to identify if there's a grant or a loan. You have way more flexibility on a loan than you do have on a grant. But finally, the SBA laws and regulations change very quickly, very rapidly. We have no idea, from the last time what would change to the second one. Therefore, I will ask you to revise your term loans and figure out what you could actually do and do not do from there.
Great, thank you. And I think the person who asked the question originally did just clarify, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but specifically referring to the idle loan. I'm not sure if you have any insight into that one specifically.
So the idle loan has two components. One, it needs to be the target events as well as the supplemental events, which is up to $15,000. Those are grants, right? I would suggest you to keep those business related, correlated 100%, right? And then from there, you actually have the SBA idle loan, which is the one that initially was up to $150,000. Then they says, well, you could go all the way up to $500,000. And then they even went as far as says, well, maybe you could go all the way up to $2 million. Those are loans, right? Within the loans, we do understand that you need to pay 3.75 all the way for 30-year commitment. We also understand that payments are interest free and no payments are due into the 18 to 24 months, depending on when you get the loan. But as I mentioned, when it's a loan, you have a little bit more flexibility what you can and cannot do. Anything, I would just tell you that anything business related, it's okay. Meaning, are you going to expand your business? Are you going to go and open a second location? Are you going to go and spend on your marketing? Are you going to go and hire more people? Are you going to go and redevelop your front office or whatever because you need more attraction to clients? That should be fine, right? Now, if you're going to take those funds and allocate them to a different outside activity that is not related to your particular business, I will caution very carefully and I would be very prudent when it comes to utilizing resources that are not for the business or the intent that were they're actually secure and actually asked for. From there, the second advice that I would make is make sure that you sit down, you review your terms and conditions, you review the different do's and don'ts, and then from there make a decision if what you're trying to do it's applicable to the business and the loan that you just got awarded.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. Um, and I guess now we can transition to a couple of questions that people had, a little bit about the certification and that process. Um, Somebody is wondering if it's possible to get both the minority business owned certification as well as a woman owned business certification. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, that would be a quick answer, but yeah.
that is super possible. At the same time, I mean, there's so many different things that you could be certified. You could do women-owned business, you could do minority-owned business, and then after that, do the actual federal business certification for 8A certification or so. And at the same time, turn back around and says, I want to be certified through the state as well. You could do all that, right? What I would tell you is start with one first, get used to it, kind of know your way around, and then from there, once you can see that it's kind of a proven concept, then you could decide if you're going to enter into different certifications or not. But kind of know your worth first.
Great. Yeah, I think that's great advice. And then kind of piggybacking off of that, somebody is also just wondering if a business is co-owned, does the woman or minority of that co-owned business have to possess at least 51% or more in the stake or stake to be certified?
That is a great question. That is correct. If you actually co-own your business with someone else, the minority person that is looking to get certified must possess at least 51% of the business. And that's a lot of different things that you might run into hurdles because you might have to do a stock agreement, you might have to transfer stocks or shares, or you might have to incorporate someone into your LLC because a lot of people have businesses that, hey, I own the business, but it's actually under my mother's or father's name or vice versa. It needs to be very black and white. And depending on the certifications you actually pursued, you might actually run into a lot of issues through these particular items because they will question every single owner and they will make sure that you are an active owner and you're not just actually utilizing someone's perk and benefit to your need or benefit just because they actually happen to be under your LLC or corporation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And I know we are um, running a little close to time here, so I'm not sure if I have time for maybe one more question.
Don't worry.
And I guess, sorry.
So don't worry about the time. We're good. If you have more questions, let me
Okay.
know. Okay.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so one person has a specialty macaron bakery, and they are certified, and they get bid offerings, but rarely see any opportunities that would call to, their specific line of business. So they're just wondering if there are any certain categories of certification that would have more frequent interest, in their own business or in their industry.
Yeah, this is more of a strategy question than anything else. What I would tell you is you need to understand your buyer's persona. You need to understand who is actually your buyer. Who are you actually approaching with these particular products? How are you actually approaching them? What sort of need there is, right? And then from there, understanding what sort of procurement processes the person has, right? I'll give you an example. You have baked goods. There's a good chance you could go up to the casino and says, "Hey, by the way, casino, I have baked goods. You have any interest?" And they might say yay or nay, right? But you need to be able to actually present your product well, where in a way it's like, okay, I know you have these particular needs within your cafeterias or within your market. Can we actually participate on these? Oracle, for example, does particular baked goods to people that they're trying to attract as new customers. Can you actually pair with them in order to be the supplier for those baked goods and in essence sell them their cookies so they can transfer out to the people that they plan to actually make business transactions with? But you need to be able to understand your buyer's persona, what do they need, and how they're going to do it. Finally, I would tell you, and I will be very bold with this, closing a corporate sale is not quick. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Transactions take a lot of time, and in instances, they take years, right? I have one example. When we went to open in Connecticut, the Hartford Insurance took us probably about 4 years to actually secure and close, right? And you might say, dude, that's crazy long. And I understand and I know it. But every time that I saw the particular buyer, I would say hello. I wished him well. I asked about his kids. I understood what was going on. And then from there, when I saw him again, I will follow it up again. How's your kids doing again? How's things going? And then I just make sure that I kept in touch, kept in mind, right? The big money is in the follow up. If you're not following up, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing to make sure that you actually are relevant and somewhat in people's mind, that you're not doing enough. And then once that actually takes place, then you'll be able to secure it. When we did secure that particular transaction, we closed for $670,000 per year. We have that contract since 2015. So now we're going all the way to 2022. We still have the contract and we will keep renewing the contract. So it's something that is worth waiting. It's something that it's of value. But if you're thinking you're going to join these chapters and you're going to close the next $1 million in the next month or so, you're out of whack. It's not going to happen. Be patient. That's not what business it's about. At least not with the real story that we're trying to do as business owners. But once you are patient, once you're in tune, and once you could align your expectations with that, you will make great connections and you will make great partnerships. And as we will call it, strategic, beneficial, mutual relationships.
Right, perfect, thank you. And I think, again, kind of another question that is sort of related to that. Somebody is wondering, do the certifications only provide opportunities through RFPs, or is there a process that a small business can do to put their business out there in front of decision makers or buyers so that they can take advantage of the certifications that they have as a small business owner?
Unfortunately, that's not something that I can answer from one particular company or the other. What I could tell you that depending on the company, they have guidelines and statutes that require X amount of dollars to actually be bidded out. So for example, if I'm gonna go and buy $50,000 worth of something, it needs to be bidded out. And at that particular point, it makes it tough. So if your particular product is exceeding, I would say regularly over $50,000, then you will go into an RFP process no matter what. Also, I would tell you that you should get very familiar with bidding and you should love bidding as much as I do, because this is the true value and the true way to actually closing some serious deals, right? It shouldn't be something that stops you. You should be actually putting together an RFP module that allows you to actually change a few things or such, but will allow you to actually bid rapidly for different businesses that are out there. I also recommend that your digital marketing campaign, it's far exceeding than anything else, because this is where you'll be able to be present and kind of sell to the subconscious to different buyers and individuals, which will allow you to actually be noticed and be there for other people that are looking to buy your services.
Perfect. And just another question. Um, Someone is wondering, how advantageous is it to have certifications as a B2B that provides services and not products, and specifically as a sole proprietor?
Is that person able to share what they do a little bit more in depth? Then I could tell them.
Um, Not sure. Potentially they could maybe follow up with you in an email later, or
And
um,
if it, I could just share my email in here, so people just feel free to reach out or so, and then I'll be happy to connect with them.
all right, perfect. Thank you for that. And then yeah, just I think one final question, because obviously don't want to take up too much more of everyone's time here. And I think you should be able to answer this one, is what is the best resource to obtain financial assistance for starting businesses which may not have an operating history?
So the first one is to go through these particular projects, which you're kind of proving your concept, right? E for All happens to be one of them, right? The National Latino Advisory Association is another one. Then you have Enterprise. Then you have what's the other one? Then you have programs like Boston Impact. From there, you can kind of module your steps down and kind of see if you make sense of a business perspective. You have Score. I love Score. I'm working with the guys at Score. I still have my Score advisor today. And then from there, kind of see if things are going to be shaping your way. They'll help you put a business plan together, projections together, and then from there start securing financing. You could even approach Store Trusted Bay. I know we have a program up to $15,000 that allows you to open your business and get started. So there's a lot of things out there. You just need to be more open into actually figuring out if from a paper perspective, your business is going to make any sense or not. And that takes a little bit of time. But I think those are the names of the different agencies that I would suggest.
All right, thank you. And I think that's pretty much all the questions that we do have time for today. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I want to thank you, Jose, for this wonderful and insightful webinar, and for being so generous with your knowledge and your time today. Yeah, and just as a reminder to those who have tuned in, this webinar was recorded and will also be available on our website. You'll receive an email to access the recording that includes the presentation slides from today's webinar, and an email tomorrow.
Thank you.
And just, yeah. And yeah, no, thank you. Thank you again. And just a reminder to everyone that ICCC does organize our webinars based on participant feedback. So please be sure to take the survey at the end of this session. And even just based off of the feedback that we've already received in the chat today, it sounds like everyone really enjoyed the webinar today and took a lot away from it. So thank you again to Jose, and just thank you to everyone for joining us. So be well and be healthy.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.